Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this super awesome KYE interview series that we are doing here. And today we have an amazing motivational speaker, a human rights activist with us, who is Sujo John. And he was launched into the public speaking following his survival experience of the terrorist attack which happened on 9/11 on the New York's World Trade Centers. He has a very, very powerful mission in life, which is to act upon the responsibility that we all bear to take action when we see something wrong that is happening. And he would love to leave the world a better place that he found it. So he feels life is a complete incredible adventure, and if you're willing to leave the safe harbor and catch the wind, I think there are amazing things that can happen. He shares his story of the 9/11 survival, the resilience, the hope with universities, sporting events, Fortune 500 companies, and he helps them come out of their challenges. He's been helping people in America, Europe, Asia, Africa, various continents, and we are fortunate that we have Sujo with us today. And something which I really love about him, that he is the founder of YouCanFreeUs, an international human rights organization which is fighting modern slavery across the globe, through the advocacy, rescue, and rehabilitation he's doing for all of these unfortunate people who are stuck there. And we're going to know a lot about him. So welcome Sujo to this super duper KYE interactive interview.
Namaste, Kedar, and it's great to be on your program. And thanks for inviting me to share with you my life experiences.
Hey, wonderful. Thank you. It's our pleasure to have you here today. So let's get going into this interview. And the very first thing that I would love to know from you is, what was your motivation of becoming a motivational speaker?
They say some things just happen to you. They fall in your lap. It was something very similar. If you had told me 20 years ago that this was what I was going to do with my life full time, and this is how I was going to make a living, I would have said, there is no way, this can't be me. But the series of things happened, especially, the way my story unfolded after I moved to America. That life experience changed my life. And we all have life experiences, right? Everybody watching us, we have life experiences. Some are mountain experiences, some are valley experiences. And in a way, those moments come to define us. And it's up to us to take a chance of those moments and how we react to it. So good or bad opens up something new in our life. And so when this tragedy of 9/11 happened, my survival there was carried by a lot of media networks all over the world. And because it was a story of hope, a story of survival, in an environment where bahut log mare, India se bhi bahut log mare us din. So when so many people have died, here was a story of survival, here was a story of hope, and people wanted to hear that story. And so when they called me to speak, it was kind of interesting. So I'm basically from India, right? So English is our second language. Kabhi maine public speaking nahi kiya, aur ye log bulane lag gaye, aur some of my crowds were very big. I think the second event that I'm ever speaking was to a crowd of 10,000 people. Ooh. So I get up in this stadium kind of setting, and 10,000 people have come to hear me speak. And I looked at that crowd and I said, these people have come to hear me speak. And it just made me so weak in my knees. But in that moment, something hit me. And I just realized that's one thing, that, the occasion or that moment in my life is bigger than me. So why not surrender to that and allow God or that moment to take it wherever it would go. And so that's how I got started. And when I got started, I felt like people are responding. And I worked for about a few months because it was too scary to leave my job. I was married, I had a baby on the way, my wife was pregnant. And so all these fears about, how can I make a living through speaking? So I worked for about 2-3 months. And when I socha ki, agar ye nahi chalta to fir I'll go back to my work, my profession. But then it started doing so well. And I just felt like it's time to get off the boat and try to walk on water. And so that's how I quit my full-time job more than 20 years ago. And I've been doing this since then.
Wow. That's one story that you have. I think, it takes a lot of courage to leave that, safety of the harbor that you rightly said, But I think there must have been something that might have been going through you when you took up that decision. Okay, this is something that I want to do. For me, honestly, Sujo, one of my biggest dream is to address a crowd of 10,000, and that's the exact number that you said. So I think what made you shift out? Like, as you said, you would want to walk on water, but it's not easy. So how did you shape up or cope up with all of that?
So we all have things that we want to do in life and we are called to do. First of all, is finding what are we called to do. Every human being is wired in a very unique way, and every human being is called to do something. And the best part of life is only you can do what you're called to do. Kedar, you can't do what I'm called to do, and I can't do what you're called to do. And when we realize that, you begin to allow yourself to take these chances. And life is all about taking risk, right? If you don't take a risk, you will never know whether you're good at something or you're bad at something. But the thing is taking a calculated risk. Now, I know a lot of people, aag band karke they'll kood jayenge kahin par. That's just being dumb. But take some calculated risk, especially if you have a spirit of entrepreneurship within you. What defines an entrepreneur or a startup that will be successful is one that actually takes calculated risk. But risk takers always win. That's the mantra of business, right? If you take risk, there comes a gain. No risk, no gain, right? We hear it as an adage, but it's so true in life and everything that we want to do in life. So, the key is, Kedar, is knowing that whatever I have to offer to the world, whether it's through a business, whether it's through any kind of profession, vocation, is it adding value? And deep within us, there has to be a way to measure that metrics. Like, say, if it's a talk, I go and speak once. So what is the response I think I'm getting, from people? Did I add value? So our world is such, people that add value, you'll always be a winner. So the moment you stop adding value, you're done, you're toast. So for some of us, the task is to keep ourselves updated and keep ourselves fresh. So we add value. And till the moment we add value, you're going to be successful in life. So I started measuring that in those first few places where I took the risk and I said, what's the feedback that I'm getting, right? If it's praise, you've heard this said, chew it like gum and spit it out. But if people are critically telling you some things that you need to change, then pay attention to it. And every day of our life, whether we are starting or whether we are riding that crest of success, or we think we're kind of done with life, we can add value. I look at the life of Ratan Tata, right? What an incredible man, a giant who's still living, thank God, in India. And look at his life. I mean, he's kind of quit the direct, hands-on work with Tatas. But how many startups has he helped in the last many years, right? So the man doesn't quit. The man is always adding value. And that's the secret of wanting to be relevant. Can you add value? And I think living in America and living here has also taught me this. America is all about that. Your pedigree, your background, where you grew up. Padhai ka bhi koi, in a way, I'm not against education, but you look at all the great guys who made success, in America, they quit school, they quit college, right? And so what matters is people who stuck on to their game and said, I will add value. So deep within us, is there a way we can measure that for ourselves? And also ask people around us to help us measure that, especially when you're taking that first leap. Otherwise, we can always go back to what we were doing, or we can do something else.
Wow. So, I mean, honestly, you've actually answered the next question that I was about to throw at you, which was, what are the factors that are giving you a feeling of, sense of accomplishment? But I think you've given me the exact answer. It's adding value. You would love to add value. That is what you do. And Ratan Tata, the startups, I think it all comes down with KYE, because the last interview that I did was for a startup in which Ratan Tata has invested, which was Arjun Deshpande. And the next one I'm doing with you. So it's some cosmic connection that has happened there.
I know, that's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really happy. So now, obviously, yes. So adding value is something that you love doing. You are kicked about it. But this journey, I'm sure there must have been some obstacles, because you leaving your job, coming into this. So what were the obstacles and how do you go about them? Because I'm sure even Sujo John has obstacles. So what did he do so that, we could get inspired, we could help and make people understand how do you overcome an obstacle when you hit one?
Great question, Kedar. First of all, the biggest obstacle was when you get started is that self-belief, right? Can you really do it? And so we have to first defeat that. That's the first demon that has to be slayed. And you have to tell yourself that, yeah, you are good at this and you are called to that, and build yourself up. And so I dealt with some of those fears, especially because of what I shared earlier. I'm speaking to an American audience in a new country. I had just moved to America in February of 2001, and 6 months after that, 9/11 happened. So I'm new to this country. I don't know much about this country. Everything is so different for me. And then I'm thrown into the public limelight. So dealing with that was a challenge. And this fears about, will I be successful? But then the other thing that I dealt with over a period of time is, things were going well for me. And then there came a time, I don't know how to explain this, but after about 2 or 3 years, my bookings, my invitations were still very high. But somehow my finances took a dip. Right? And I'm thinking, am I done? Right? Am I done with this? Do I need to quit this and go back and do something? So I remember there was a period of 3-4 months in my life where there was this uncertainty, right? I just felt like, am I missing something? And that was a time where, in a way I was kind of tempted to kind of quit or hang up the boots, but I just stood firm and I said, no, I'm in for this long run. I really believe I'm called to do this. I share that very openly because there could be someone watching this and you could be in that place. You could feel like, you started doing well and sometimes it's going down. And I understood what was going wrong with me in that season very quickly. What happened was, Kedar, I had set some goals for myself, and I had reached those goals. And once you reach those goals, there's nothing more that can light a fire within you. So I say that to entrepreneurs all the time. When you start off, you put some goals and you got there. But then you wake up and you're like, wahan to main pahunch gaya, ab aage kya? It's time to kind of, rewrite your goals again, rewrite your mission statement again. So that it should be a continuous process, because achievers or overachievers, and I'm speaking to entrepreneurs and they're all achievers, you're going to hit your goals very easily and very quickly, some of you. But if you don't have more goals to keep you higher, you will struggle with that. That's what's happening to me. I was like, I'm booked, I'm speaking everywhere, but the fire was missing within me. So I started elevating my goals and things started picking up right away. So that was a challenge. But if I do have a regret over these 20 years of my life, and I'll say this very openly, I'm a father of 3 children. My oldest is 20. My son is in college. My daughter is 15. My youngest is a 10-year-old. I have spent a lot of time on the road. My life has literally been in a suitcase. Till about COVID, I was spending almost 90 nights a year in Mumbai and about 100 plus nights a year in Europe. And, so constantly traveling. So I think I missed out a lot of my, on the life of my children. And I think that is a regret. I think everyone who's had a busy life can say that. So if there are young people watching me and you're just getting started, I would say try to balance it. Balance your family life. The time that you give to your family is important. Bacche bahut jaldi bade ho jate hain. You blink and they grow fast, right? I sometimes, I can't believe I have a 20-year-old, but it's true. And so that's how fast kids grow. So what I've learned in my life is you may not be able to give quantity time to your family, right? But you can give quality. And that's what matters. As a dad, as a mom, aap ghar pe whole day reh sakte hain, but if you're not there in the lives of your kids, fir kya fayda? So try to give quality rather than quantity. So probably, if at all I've had a tough time dealing with what I do has been with the time that I've been away from family. But also, when you live a very public life, everything that you do is watched. And that has its plus points and has its negative points. And you kind of feel like you have to live up to a certain expectations, right? Of society, of people around you. But hey, we are all humans. We mess up. We make mistakes. We do regrets. And so it's important to live a life of transparency. But more importantly, when you do make mistakes, and we will all make mistakes, the important thing is actually to learn from it. Everything in our life comes as a teaching moment for us to learn from them and then to move on. I always tell people, and this is something that I've done in 20 years of my life, with the ups and downs of life, I've decided that I'm never going to camp in the valley. I'm going to move even faster when I'm the valley. और हर mountain के बाद एक valley तो आना ही है. Before you go to the next mountain, you have to climb down the valley. And climbing down the valley is full of pains and hurts and bruises and disappointments. But आपको तो उतरना है mountain से, फिर अगले mountain के लिए तरफ जाना है. So that valley experiences can sometimes be pretty long, and we all go through it. And no one can say that they are kind of immune from it. So it's part of this journey of life. We have to embrace it and go through it as quickly as we can.
Wow. That was, quite profound. I really had a lot of notes that I'm taking right now from you. So this is amazing learning that we are getting. The obstacles, when you come across obstacles, what you do, one thing which he rightly said, believe, get better than what you were, have bigger goals, think about your family, give time to your family, quality time than quantity. I think that would help. And whenever you are in the valley, go fast. This is amazing. Thank you, Sujo, for this phenomenal learnings. All the entrepreneurs who are watching us, please make notes. All of this is gold for all of you. You know what? Yes, you have told us how do we come across, how do we take care of all of these challenges. But trust me, we are extremely curious. We want to know what exactly was that 9/11 experience. Would you just throw some light on that? What happened, and so that people can understand from that and maybe take away some things for their lives.
Sure, Kedar. So it was a tragedy, it changed the world. It affected the entire world, the way we travel, the way we do business, the wars that has happened since then. So I used to work on the 81st floor of Tower 1 of the World Trade Center. My wife would work on the 71st floor of the South Tower. So we would both work in two different buildings, and she was pregnant then with our first child. So that morning I reached office close to 7:30 in the morning, and about 8:45 in the morning I hear this incredible explosion, and that is American Flight 11 flying at 440 miles an hour, carrying 10,000 gallons of jet fuel, comes crashing into my building. Everything starts shaking. The wing of the plane tears through my floor. So it dumped a lot of jet fuel, and everything around me started catching fire. And तभी मैंने सोचा कि यही है कि यहीं पर मरने वाले हैं सब, because the heat was so intense. It was hard to breathe. And someone on my floor says, we have to fight the fire. So we start crawling our way through that, start looking for a way to get out of the burning building, reach the stairwell. The elevators are not working. The lifts were not working. The jet fuel had come down the elevator shaft, and balls of fire were shooting out that place. So we come down to the stairwell, thousands of people joining us there. And I'm thinking about my wife who works on the other tower, 4 months pregnant. I'm trying to call her through my cell phone, but cell phones aren't working. And we hear another explosion. This is the second plane crashing into the second tower. So to quickly go through my story, it took me 1 hour and 20 minutes to come down 81 floors. And on that lowest level, I walked to the second tower to look for my wife, thinking I might find her. And that's when the unthinkable happens. The ground shakes and the south tower collapsed. And I'm buried in the debris. You can only imagine, these buildings are 110 floors each. And I'm so close to the building, and the building is imploding. The building is collapsing, and I'm saying, this is it. I'm going to die. So I was buried in the debris with 15, 20 people. These people that were with me, they ended up dying. And I'm lying there thinking something big is going to hit me soon and I'm going to die. I'm thinking my family is never going to know what happened to me, where I was. This fear of death was so overwhelming. But then I feel someone pulled me, and I began to pull him, and we couldn't breathe. I was covered with soot and ash. He was covered with soot and ash. And he turns to me and he says, he's with the FBI. And we both told each other we're going to die. Because we couldn't see anything. And that's when something miraculous happens. I see a red light flashing through all the smoke and the soot. And I turn to this man saying, that's the street level. We have to make our way towards that light. So we start fighting our way through that light, and that light leads us out. And the man says, I got to go back and get more people. And this is a story of an incredible hero. He runs back to look for more people, to save more people. And now the North Tower collapses. And this brave man died that day. He's left behind 4 children and a wife. So I'm out of the debris. Both the towers have collapsed. And I'm thinking my wife is dead. But unknown to me, she was late to work by 2 minutes. And that's what spared her life. My family in India, I grew up in Calcutta. That's my home. My friends, family, neighbors, sare ghar pe aa gaye, or they were all trying to comfort my parents. So for the entire nighttime in India till morning, because they took me to a place to decontaminate me. My family thought I was dead, and they thought, and there was no way for us to reach them. So it was a tragic day. I watched people die. I knew people who died that day. Many Indians died that day too. People from all over India died. It was the World Trade Center, so there were people from all the world. It changed everything about this country. It changed everything about the world. The war against radical Islam became very real, and that is a threat that continues for humanity, even in India. And 26/11 has happened in India, and so many terrorist attacks. And in a strange way, I've been called in many parts of the world after these tragedies to come and speak to people. In fact, I remember mujhe bulaya gaya Mumbai mein right after the Bombay attacks to come and speak to people who, and there was an event somebody put together at the Bombay Cricket Club. And these were people that were trapped in the hotels when 26/11 happened. And they were all successful businessmen. And suddenly they were in this place of fear, uncertainty, and overwhelmed by what they went through. So I had an opportunity to kind of come and talk to them about resilience and try to tell them that, that this tragedy is not going to define you in a way. It can, if at all, it can define you, it will define you to make a better person out of you and not for the worse. So that's kind of my experience, and as I share the story, everyone thinks it's an amazing story because it was the most watched tragedy. But I would have done disservice to our audience today if people just think about my story. So I want to close by saying, each of you that are watching me right now, you have your own story. And your story is a big deal. And I don't know your story. Someone watching this right now, you're dealing with a crisis in your business, financially going through a tough time. Somebody could be having a tough time in your marriage. Somebody could be having a tough time in your relationship with your children, your brother, your sister, or just emotionally, COVID has dealt a big blow with people's emotions and you're depressed. You have a story. And so I want to challenge you, as I share this, you have an opportunity to get out of your story. You can get out of your story victorious, and you can go on the other side full of hope, being resilient, knowing that this story, whatever the circumstance in your life, cannot take you down. You're better than that. And you can come out of it and do something amazing with your life. And maybe you can become a better version of yourself. This story could shape you in such a way that you could be the best version of yourself that you've ever been.
Wow, that's absolutely something that's a story of hope, a story of resilience. I think those moments which you said, that light which you saw, I think it had goosebumps on me. But more than that, it showed me that, if you are ready, I think the universe helps, and you need to show what you're made up of. So I think that's something that you are giving hope to so many people. Plus, I believe you are doing some charities in India. So can you just throw some light there? What are those? So that people from India can, join hands with you and we could do something. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, India is something that is very close to my heart. I try to spend as much as a time in India. I'm a son of that soil. So when I left India, when I soch ke nikla tha ki, if I thought I would start a business in America. So that was what I wanted to do. But I just had decided whatever I do, I want to give back to India. Wow. So I started with right after 9/11, I started building schools in different parts of India. A lot in Jharkhand, in Bihar, some in Delhi, helping children. So I thought that was my calling. But everything changed when somebody asked me in Delhi to go see the red light district. And this is in Connaught Place. It's a road called GB Road. I'm going to this place and I was like, I didn't know what to expect, but I thought, there's going to be women, so let me take roses. So I took hundreds of roses and started giving roses to these women there. And Kedar, it just blew my mind as I walked into that red light district, seeing women kept in cages, pinjre mein rakhte inko, kept in cages and cells. And these places are so tiny, 3 feet by 6 feet. Wow. And they began to tell me their stories of what has happened to them, how they were sold, sometimes by their family. They were brought from different parts of India, promised a better life in Delhi. And sometimes it's even their loved one that has sold them. One girl pulled me and she said, if you can do something for me, get me out of here. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, what can I do? Like, how can I get this girl out of here? This area is controlled by the mafia. I have no idea how this business operates. But in that moment, I felt something common with these girls. I felt like I know what it is to be physically trapped when the building collapsed. So मैंने ये ठान लिया उस moment में कि I have to do something about this problem. So we started in Delhi, and now we are also in Mumbai, and we are in a few other countries around the world. But one of our biggest projects is in Mumbai. And for those of you watching me in Mumbai, you probably know this about Kamatipura and Grant Road. There are more than 9 red light districts in Mumbai. And this is a travesty that goes on in India, in a country where we have so many female gods and goddesses and people worship, worship them, in a country that has already given the world a female president, a female prime minister, which even America has not been able to do. In a country where in some places where I grew up in Calcutta, Bengalis, they call their daughters Ma, right? And so in a country where on one side you see women so respected, it is also the country, unfortunately, where women are treated the worst. And as a man, I felt horrible at the men race that causes. And so I decided to do something. So our charity is called YouCanFreeUs, where we rescue women and children who are sold into slavery. We rehabilitate them. We have safe houses. They stay with us for almost 2 years. And we help them re-enter society by getting a job. And sometimes we reunite them with their loved ones. We also rescue children who are forced into child labor. And just because of COVID, we're starting a new project in a place called Bhiwandi. We're starting a child development center. We just realized that, Mom, because of COVID and poverty, a lot of parents are selling their children because of no job. And because of this digital divide, in poorer parts of India and around the world, these children have had no education for over 2 years. आप सोचिए, आप घर पे आपके बच्चे, have not been going to school, ठीक है, laptop पे या iPad पे पढ़ाई हो रही है. But for these village kids and for these slum kids in poorer parts of India, this is the biggest catastrophe that's happened to them. For 2 years, there has been no education. और ये parents बोल रहे हैं कि अब ये पढ़ के क्या करेंगे? 2 साल तो ये लोग school में नहीं गए, and these children have forgotten everything. So we are starting these child development centers. We're starting one next month, and then we want to replicate it all over India as a way of helping these children, because all the good work that the government and other nonprofits have done in fighting poverty and in helping children of India come up, it's almost like this wave of COVID has come and swept it away. So that's kind of my passion. And if you want to know more, especially those of you in Mumbai, get a hold of me through my social media or email me. I'd love to give you more information.
Hey, wow. I think that's a very powerful, noble thing that you're doing. And as I was just feeling what must have gone through you when that lady spoke to you, and then you connected that, and that's the universe way of telling you that this is your calling. And you're living your calling. So I'm really proud of you. Sujo, I think hats off to you, what you're doing. I will definitely pledge my bit to help you and make sure that I'm going to spread the word in my circles. So let's.
Thank you, Kedar. And, I don't say this publicly because of the security, but before this conversation, we had a chat about where the location is. So whenever you want to go visit, let me know. I'd love for you to go visit our work.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sujo. I think before we just close for the day, I think there was phenomenal learnings from your story. How do you look at life? I think there were takeaways practically every minute of this recording that we're going to have for all these entrepreneurs. But words of wisdom that you would love to leave this whole session. And also, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Can you just tell that? And then few words of wisdom so that people have like, oh yes, this is something that Sujo told me.
Okay, so I'll start by saying where do I see myself 5 years from now. So for a successful leader is one who as quickly as possible can run himself out of his job.
Wow.
What I mean by that is, how do you raise up other people like you? Right? So you would have failed as a leader if you cannot raise someone, multiply yourself. And so that's something that I have started, looking for people, identifying people that I can mentor and train them. And different people have come to me for different things over a period of time. Usually I teach people on communication. So I have a platform where I teach them how to do communications, public speaking, and it's called Communicate2Lead. They can look it up. So usually people have come for that, but now I'm more focused on leadership development so that we can help people. So that's where I'm focusing on. But the one thought that I would leave is kind of repeating a few things that I already shared with you, Kedar, what you read out in my bio. If we all resolve to leave the world a better place, single day of our life, we will wake up with these two thoughts. We will wake up with the thought that, what if this is my last day on earth? And if you ask yourself that question, it's a way of measuring what you've done and where you're in your life. And it will make you do something better, right? So that's one. Secondly, what I want to leave with you is what I shared earlier. How do we add value? Ratan Tata, I don't know at what age he is, he's still adding value. So he is one of the Indian guys, more than any other business leader, who has been a kind of inspiration for me. And I'll tell you why. I told you earlier कि मैंने काफी बिहार में काम किया है, schools वगैरह I built up. And so, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, ये CSR concept nobody knew what CSR was in India. But 20 साल पहले when I would go to Bihar and Jharkhand and Jamshedpur, I have seen what the Tatas have done there, right? So this man lived out his life, capitalism with a soul. And that's something that I want entrepreneurs to encourage. Capitalism is not all about, making money for yourself. Capitalism with a soul is all about leaving the world a better place, how we can give back. And we all have a responsibility to give back. And, hum sab Bharatiya hai, so our first responsibility is to our motherland. How do we leave our motherland a better place? Beyond all the political divisions and things that divide us, how can we come together and build a strong India?
That's absolutely, something that just touched inside here, what you said, a capitalism with a soul. I think that's the absolute perspective that every entrepreneur, if you carry this, which Sujo has given us, if you nurture the seed which he has planted in you, that capitalism with a soul. I mean, it's not about hoarding wealth, but it's all about making a difference by adding value. And this is beautifully spoken there by Sujo. I think he's truly somebody who motivates and also a true humanitarian to his heart. Amazing takeaways that we have for everyone who is watching this. Looking forward for Sujo, for more interactions with you. Definitely, I think you have inspired me to do bigger things. Thank you so much. All of you guys who are watching us, do share all of these videos with your audiences. Where Sujo has a beautiful story which is told here, and it can give hope, resilience, and way more than that. So thank you so much, Sujo, for being with us here today. And
thank you, my new friend, and all the very best with what you're trying to do.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. We'll be stopping this video right away, but do take actions on everything that Sujo has told us. Bye bye, take care. Once again, Kedar here, a marketing habits expert, signing off for the day. Thank you.